Hello everyone. Today I want to make a small video considering the market is slow because the stocks are closed for the Memorial Day, and I think everything's gonna start running relatively soon in my opinion. So I wanted to make a small video on the 200-day and the 4-hour moving averages and why they are so important. I have already talked about this in a previous video, but I want to show a different samples, right, with different coins and charts, and demonstrate why I think, or why it's not just my opinion, it's data. They are a must, so important, especially when we spend a long time, perhaps weeks or days, hovering around those levels without moving, right? Which is, in my opinion, way better than just pumping through it, slicing through them, and just with not building any kind of support, right? Because when you go up so high and so fast, you normally and eventually come back down to those levels. So if you've been following me for a while, you will remember when I posted that hovering around, above 84k for some days, that was a key level, right? It was reclaiming this horizontal structure, which is the first thing, right? Horizontal levels, for me, they are the most important aspect. And we were hovering above, right? While the 4-hour 200s were already holding. I'm gonna show you here, right? This is the tree and the area, and the 4-hour were slowly, they had already reclaimed and held the 4-hour since 12th of April, like 8 days. Not much, right? But it was eight days. People were a bit bored, right? And the daily was still working, but it was looking good. 84 key level holding, 4-hour reclaimed, and I said the 200 was slowly being reclaimed. That would be the perfect launchpad, to pop up without hesitation, and we never looked back, right? I said to study October 23 because we see something similar, and this is the daily. We found more or less the bottom. We tried once, high, low, high, high, not holding the upper band, trying to hold the lower band. Failed here temporarily, but again, high, 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 low. It was slow reclaim. When everything was ready, we popped without hesitation. With vertical accumulation, not even trying to come back here like we did later, right? So was it a study October, and what have we done so far? Real vertical accumulation with small stops in between that has allowed this daily cycle to still be well and alive, right? Otherwise, I think we would have come back to test perhaps 98. If this had been very fast, which is something people apparently want, we would probably have retested it. And this move for altcoins would be really, really worse, in my opinion. So this is why it's important. And it doesn't matter what asset you analyze, you need the 200. Here, as I said, this was summer, August, finding the reclaim, the bottom. It was from August to October, 2 months, 3 months, 2 months, hovering around these levels. That allowed this huge impulse. So this was boring, of course. What's going to happen next? Has BTC, I don't know, top this cycle? Will we wait to 2000, I don't know, 2025 to see the new all-time, whatever? It's just loading, right? And again, as we have seen, the reclaim after the bear market retest. This was just premature. It was just like the confirmation that we are back. Several retests, right? And a year later, this was January. Yeah, pretty much almost like a year later, right? We decided, okay, it was ready. BTC was ready to push really, really strong. Same after COVID crash. Confirmation that we are back. Initial push, perhaps not much confidence, but holding. So yeah, we're back. and off we go. This took, again, quite a long time. This was early May, July, and then even down to October. It was, for many people, this was dead, because Total 3 and altcoins were pretty much dead, as we have seen many times, right? Pretty much dead. And this, in hindsight, looked like a great opportunity to accumulate, right? But when you are going through this and you don't follow technical, you just open trade the view and see price, do you believe this is dead? This is not gonna go back to previous levels, BTC or crypto is down, blah, blah, blah. So that's why it's important to never forget the technicals. And we saw this impulse by BTC. We are getting far from the 200. The daily, we just had a reset above 75 or so RSI. So I don't think, as I said, this leg has much room before cooling off. That's why perhaps we pump to the next Fibonacci, as I said, 130k, something like that. Would be like a 20% move. I don't think that's too much, right? Since reclaiming this, we have pumped like 33% in around, yeah, a bit more than a month. So another push wouldn't be crazy into June, or I mean mid-June, something like that. Why not? So again, this is necessary, and I posted this, and what we saw later was just a confirmation that this was accumulation. We can apply this to any chart you want, right? We move to total 3, and we see the first attempt was a failure, right? And we can see the perfect rejection. If you open this chart, you can see, okay, we pretty much got rejected here, even though we didn't tap it. And all these wicks, apparently they are not being rejected by any level, right? But it is when you open this that you realize it tried holding, it got rejected, right? But making high lows, as we said. So this was coiling below the moving average, the lower bound, and now we popped up, came back to retest this. Even though people are getting anxious and tired, this is great. Again, if we pop, yes, everyone wants to see this, but this depends on BTC dominance. I have already explained that. I'm gonna overlay it, but it's obvious. This was because BTC dominance started showing weakness, and this was ready to pop, already reclaimed, right? Not even the higher, the upper band, but BTC dominance allowed for that. This first drop allowed for this impulse and the reclaim of the upper band. That's why you shouldn't be surprised if Total 3, of course, outperforms others, right? We can see, well, I'm gonna change to others. You will see that others is just holding the lower band, so it's a bit below. It got rejected by the upper band twice, holding, so it's gonna attack again. And by the time it attacks the upper band again, I think it's gonna be reclaimed. Pretty much similar to Q4 or any other instance, right? Again, the slow action in summer 2023. This was a huge launch pad, like July, late July to October. The whole summer coiling, loading. This is the time to load, not randomly. You are loading when this is clearly holding, not breaking out yet, but not breaking down either. Accumulation, a huge one, my opinion. Well, we saw that with this tremendous move. That's why this move was sustained for so long, because it had been accumulating for like 3 months here. That's important. This one, however, it hadn't even reclaimed the moving averages as it did here. It just popped and slid through, and that's why it wasn't really sustainable. It was only a month instead of 6 like here, right? So people want this fast, and then you get this And perhaps here your coins don't really pump much, and now you have another 4 months of drawdown. No one wants this, I guess. I would rather have 2-3 months of boring price action and then have a 10x on my altcoins like Pepe did, right? 8x in just, I think it was 40 days or something like that. So this is good. This is a launchpad. This is coiling around very important levels. It even looks better than this, right? So we have to bear that in mind. If I open the total 3 chart, I can see that this previous resistance has been tapped 3 times already. I'm making, and they're holding again the previous resistance to confirm its support. This is very common price action. You tag the previous resistance and now try to hold the what was previous resistance as support. This is very useful, right? I would be worried, and I would have been worried before if we had lost this level. This would have been a fake out. So we are holding, making higher lows. This is a matter of time. And considering how these legs have been developing, perhaps the next one is around 85, something more. Perhaps it overshoots and breaks the all-time high for total 3, right? Perhaps similar with others. And then we print a correction, faking everyone, making them believe that it was just a fake out or whatever, and we make another high low and off we go again. This is something we have to bear in mind. Or instead of overshooting and just retracing, RSI does something like this, starts cooling off, right? After getting very overheated, while price keeps going up, making a various divergence, right? And getting rejected here. And this is the big rollover, perhaps to, if this happens, perhaps down to previous all-time high, ready for a real pop-off, like, I don't know, Q4 or whenever it is, right? If we take BTC dominance from the 200 perspective, we have already seen that. And this is why I don't think this weekly cycle, which has already surpassed, let's say, the midpoint, so to speak, we've been pushing for several weeks now. This is why I don't believe this is the time, this is the cycle for a real old season. Everything should change dramatically for that to happen. I don't see BTC dominance all of a sudden losing this in a straight line and going even further, because as you know, we need to go even further, like in 2021. We need to go below. Perhaps there will be an initial reaction to try and reclaim this, the moving averages, the 200 daily, and then if it's rejected, it's the old season is confirmed, right? Again, Q4 we have just a fake out, right? Here it tried to reclaim, it failed, but here look at the date, December 14th, like very close to the top. This high low was a very indicative of, okay, perhaps it's over. And remember, the oscillators were very oversold here for BTC dominance. If we go to the 4 hour, go to the 4 hour, we can see, as I said yesterday, perhaps this is something worrisome for altcoins in the short term, that BTC dominance seems to be reclaiming the 4 hour, right? The 200. You can see perfectly price action being reclaimed and retesting and pushing back up. But we have seen that others and total 3 are also getting ready. So I don't see they rolling over. They can perhaps push together, as I showed and explained in the previous video. And we have seen this kind of fake reclaim with BTC dominance before, and it was in Q4. But this fake out, you can consider this, even though this was bigger. Another push, high, hello, retest and push, right? But if we go to the oscillator chart, we can see that, as I said in the last video, this was fake. So what if this becomes crazy, pushes, but this doesn't push that much, right? Even if it tries again, it makes pretty much the same playbook, and we have a big rollover, perhaps to this area, 6160, right? And today's push from BTC dominance, I've been paying attention to this, and this is very common on the weekends. I've seen this, like 0.3, 0.4 kind of moves when the market is pretty much dead. And you can see the daily, this is not suggesting that this move has been much room. Of course, we can see that this, again, as I said, this was trying and trying, but it looked exhausted. We've been analyzing this for quite some time. So again, 4 hour trying to be reclaimed. This could be a fake out, but the 200 is still, even though if it's a lower high and we come back to retest this, I don't see an all season yet. And USDT, as you know, is also holding. So I wouldn't really expect an all season this fast. I posted I talked about this in the previous video, right? This is my macro USDT chart, how breaking the 200 ensured the next push. And this was the weekend fake out that we just had. And look at this perfect price action. It tried once, twice, 3 times. And so far, it's being rejected, right? And now again around 4.5. If we go to the 4 hour moving averages, what do we see? That, again, confluence. As I said, when you lose the 4 hour, you also need to lose the 200 daily. And we lost it here in November. Lost it, bearish retest, big dump. Lost it, bearish retest, perfect. And it haven't been able to even retest it again. So far, so good. This is below. The daily has recently broken below. It was like 15 days ago for the first time since the reclaim here, right after the bottom. So we might be entering this final push. We can see that this is confluence with, again, others reclaiming this. Total 3 also reclaiming this. I'm gonna just, well, you have seen it already. I'm gonna just overlay it. They are reclaiming all this. BTC is way above, so it's safe for now. That's why it all looks good. Others, this kind of coiling price action is great, even though it looks boring. Let BTC dominance try to run. These, to me, altcoins are telling me we are not buying this. This is just bullshit. And remember, they can all push together, right? Because new money is coming in. I have already shown that with the USDT market cap. It's been increasing. I'm gonna use the weekly, even the monthly. I think it's way more clear. I'm gonna hide this. So yeah, you can see the USDT market cap, right? Since the bear market bottom, this is the monthly chart. Remember that, right? This was the dead cat bounce in 2022, complete sell off, bottom formation, and since then it's been climbing non-stop, right? So everything looks good. BTC dominance can still go up a little bit. That means just that BTC is outperforming. Doesn't always mean rotation from altcoins as we saw in previous cycles, because big boys are coming and are pouring money through ETFs. So of course they have to print USDT, and that goes mostly for now to BTC. So altcoins can just, let's say, push at 10% while BTC pushes 15%. So BTC dominance is growing, doesn't mean that altcoins are going down. This is why I like this a lot. this was necessary. Here, remember, when we lost it, we try to reclaim. Again, when we are in a downtrend, in an early downtrend, there will be attempts, early attempts. But this is not strong enough. You're already coming down. And we can see that, right? If we will remove everything, and I open the RSI, you can already see that we are in a downtrend. And if we open the weekly, it's even more clear, right? We are in a downtrend. So yes, you can have some attempts, but you are already losing strength. So you have to wait to find the bottom, right? So again, this looks great for continuation, and we have reclaimed key levels for that for the first time since we lost them, for the first time since Q4. This could be just a delay for altcoins. Doesn't mean altcoins can't just push. You can apply the 200, let me just here, to any coin. Let's say XRP, for example. And you see this, and this is tremendous. This altcoin hasn't really even lost the 200. This is just a fake out. We have like pretty much another retest here and another one. Okay, this is the market cap. I don't care. The other looks the same. Some people say, okay, it's losing strength. It's being rejected here. Whatever you wanna say. All I see is after this downtrend, high highs, high lows, high highs, high lows. Don't you think it's interesting the levels it's bouncing off? Don't you think it looks too much like a coincidence, right? To be random? Of course not. This is really, really waiting to pop. And the moment it breaks this, I think it's pretty much clear skies to all-time high. And remember when XRP was doing nothing for many people, right? Look at this. This was insane. And all these, look at the difference from this development here from July and before, getting rejected constantly to a final capitulation here. This is the daily, okay? Chop, chop, chop. And when it found the moment to be ready, which by the way, we can see with the oscillators, right? It gave a huge run in just, I think it was a few weeks. Let me just, sorry. Ba-ba-bum. It is here. Since the breakout, right? Like a 4x, more than 4x, 5x to the top. Okay, perhaps you might think, if we go to the weekly, which by the way is not the same moving average, but all that chop that we didn't know when was going to happen, it really ended when it crossed decisively the RSI, and this is, yes, the EMA, the RSI EMA, as we have seen many times. So what we might see as boring price action could just be a huge accumulation, right? So as I said many times, is your altcoin above the 200? Is it above the 4 hour? Look at this 4 hour. Again, holding it perfectly. It held here, tried, got rejected. Again, okay, but it held the 4 hour trend. Again, this is ready to pop off. It's incredible. You can see when we lost it here, we tried, we had another push, we lost it, it became resistance. And until we reclaimed it, we cannot speak about the new leg. And yes, price is just pretty much the same spot, right? We push, and now here, it's like a 10% move. This is the time where when people say what's going on, is it gonna move, because they've seen like for a month it just moved like a 10%, and perhaps mostly people might think this is just because of BTC pushing and algorithms pushing as well. All I see is a silent reclaim that most people don't care about, and when this is going high, very, very high and fast, people just think that, I remember that here, $5 was FUD for XRP. This is what you are gonna see constantly, keeping moving the goalposts and the targets infinitely because people want more and more and more. It will never be enough. So all I know is this is a new trend in the making, and the longer it holds and it stays above, the bigger the impulse. The same way we said with the divergences, whether it's bullish, whether it's bearish. Remember the cycle. I'm gonna open this again. Remove the indicators on the drawing. Remember the cycle, right? The bottom. When we spotted the bullish divergence. Well, it was 2022. I wasn't very active here. But this was weekly, which is already big time frame. And you can see 217 days more or less. So the longer, the bigger the impact. And since it's a regular divergence, it means trend reversal, bottom, reclaim, confirmation. So if we take a look at it from the 200 to look for confirmation that this might be this might be the bottom indeed, or that a new leg is coming, right? Take a look at what BTC did back then. This was the bottom, and we didn't have any reclaim yet. We had the bullish divergence, and then we had the reclaim to confirm that this was indeed the reversal. And since then, we just been chopping or wicking below it, faking everyone. We go to SPX. Bears would say that this is, I'm going to use the arrow, the path. This is just a dead cat bounce. And it could be, of course. But if we hold the, like here, the bears are now fractal in 2022, even though the economic situation is not the same. But if we hold this, this is just a break above the 200, reclaim, and off we go. And as you can see, bull runs have been always above the 200. A small fake out V-shaped recovery here in October 23, and that's it. So it is very important, the 200-day. Here in stocks, it's not as, it doesn't spend much time accumulating, as we have seen with crypto and some altcoins. But it is mandatory for a bull run because it always happens, right? Let's open any other coin. I don't know. Let's open Velo. I don't know. We can see that Velo is still far from the 200. So you can see now that coins, this is a very convoluted chart that I tend to use, by the way. We can see that some coins are not as ready as others. So if you see your coin lagging, don't think it's just a weakness. It's just they are still working to reclaim their own trend. XRP, we have seen it is way above. Velo is still far from it. If we open Cardano, it is above the lower bound, but still below the upper bound. Again, slowly reclaiming it. You can see that this was below, again, like U4 below, and BTC dominance allowed for all coins to run. That's why it wasn't very sustainable. It wasn't even above, right? We can see October 23, pretty much the same. Was BTC dominance, but this is not strong push or a strong consolidation above. That's why this push from Cardano have been lackluster, like not strong enough. However, we take a look at the 2020, we can see a break above the 200 and quite some time above. You can even extend it up to here, right? Like 4 months pretty much above the 200, and then big explosions. Yes, because BTC dominance allowed that. But this was one of the best performance last cycle, and this might be one of the explanations for that, right? How do you spot them? Perhaps they've been accumulating above the 200 for quite some time, while people are ignoring. For example, BNB, it's something I never chart, right? That way, I was never interested. How about that? It's way above the 200 already. This is really strong. right? We can see that here in December 23, it reclaimed it and it had a strong push, right? But it reclaimed before. It wasn't just from October we go crazy, right? So here in all over 2024, it pretty much didn't lose the 200 day. By the time it pushed in November, which by the way wasn't a very strong push, it was always above the 200. So you can see that this coin from December 2023 has been going up constantly. And in fact, now that I see this coin, I can see that this is a huge range forming. Which, by the way, you can say that if this is the top, you can see, let's take it from here, right? More or less from this top to the current situation. It's, I mean, it's pretty much like a whole year range. So everyone is not, no one is pretty much, let's say this is a very long week. Let's say this is the range, right? That's been forming. So this could be big accumulation for the next impulse, right? And I say accumulation because it is not below the 200-day moving average. That would mean weakness. This is showing strength in my opinion, right? So coins are in a very different stage. I don't know which one I can chart. I don't know, H-bar, people talk about this one. Again, holding the lower band. You can see the difference with BNB, like here in Q4 it was below, right? And if you compare with 2023, you can see that this low was pretty much the same as 2023, as BNB were already way above 2023 lows by the time Q4 push came. Some people could say, okay, this push was really small, but if you pay attention to what this coin had already done by then, right? It had pushed even from lows to lows 150%, which in the case of H bar, as we have seen, it was pretty much even below, right? From low to low. Yes, explosive. This is what gets all the attention, but what do you do in the meantime? I think this is the 200 and the 4 hour will be very useful for rotating even from one coin to another. That's something when some coins push faster than others, then you can see your coin holding or cooling off for 4 weeks while others are pushing. So perhaps reading this can help you rotate some money and try to compound within an old season or within the weekly cycle, the 4, 5, whatever weeks you have of altcoin action, right? Let's say Doge. Yeah, pretty much like many other altcoins, holding above the lower band, reclaimed with this impulse from the 15 cents, which by the way, I mentioned this was the bullish divergence, the daily forming. I still remember this, right? Saying that this range could be the bottom area, the same way it was pretty much here. With all these, again, bullish divergence, right? So the moment it reclaims it, up it goes. It's pretty much doing the same thing now. And we know how impulsive it looks. Remember, January, February looks boring, and all of a sudden what's going on? No, it's been coiling up. It's been accumulating. Even tried first, but then held. So you can even say that it was from October 23 to February. The first impulse in December wasn't really getting much attention. Doge was dead. That was a coin of the past. It's now Pepe and WIF and all that shit. In the meantime, this was loading. You have to bear that in mind before dropping your bags to chase the next shiny thing, right? So again, it's mandatory. You can check all this. It's very simple with your altcoin, the 4 hour, the 200 day, and you will see that it's very simple. You can see where your coin is currently and if it's ready or not. This is the 4 hour for Doge, reclaim for the first time, since all this downtrend. It is not a coincidence that they reclaimed with this bullish divergence, right? This bullish divergence triggered this pop, but it was above already, above the 200. That's why there was a bullish divergence. In my opinion, was showing strength that the trend had changed, and the bullish divergence was a confirmation. You can see it all clicks, right? So when you see this, instead of buying every initial impulse or a small correction because you think you are going to be left behind, I've been there. You buy falling knives all the time. You wait for a bottom or for a reversal to form. And if you don't want to risk any buying a potential fake divergence, you wait for the reclaim. It is going to be hard because people could say, okay, this was like a reclaim. First thing I see is it is very close to the top. So to me, this is premature. This is a trap. The classic dead cat bounce triggered by people who think this is just a small dip. And I'm sure that if we open this was January 25th, okay? If we open the daily, even just RSI, January, well, does this look like a strength to you? After this initial impulse, you can say, okay, we are coming back, we are breaking above. Yes, you can say that, but let's go to the higher time frame. If you don't see it clearly yet, sorry. All I see is by that time, we were already in a downtrend on the weekly, below the MA. I wouldn't touch this until I see some kind of bottom formation. Right? Even if you want to buy here, with this kind of flat price action, you see this is moving, climbing, slowly reclimbing where no one pays attention. Yes, you have to endure this whole year doing pretty much nothing, but this is accumulation range and it keeps climbing. The trend has changed even though price hasn't reflected it yet. So do we really think this whole accumulation here for Dogecoin? I don't have Dogecoin, by the way. I just like to analyze charts. This huge accumulation, right? Which, by the way, you could even extend it to here, right? But yeah. Do you think this whole accumulation with the trend changing is not going to end up in an explosive move? Because perhaps that's what people thought here. I mean, this is a different situation because it was the inception, but all I see RSI wise is very similar. Change is slowly climbing while this is just chopping in this range, but everything is looking better RSI wise. And when it decides to push, all of a sudden, Doge is saving the world. So you see it all in confluence. I think it's very, very important, especially to have patience. This is one more example of why high time frame, at least daily, in my opinion, is the safest bet. Yes, you might see that it takes too long, or you might see some random coins popping off like hype, right? Which, by the way, people don't talk about hype when it started crashing 20% daily not long ago with some hacks and some liquidations. They don't talk about that. They just talk about now hype is outperforming, blah, blah, blah. They always just talk about the good stuff. But this is, you're just loading high time frame because you see the longer it takes, the more explosive it can be, as long as the structure holds, right? Because many people think that if you see an altcoin doing this, sorry. Okay. You see an altcoin doing this. Okay, they see these. Hey, this is cheap. Are you sure? Because it's now, there are some coins like this. It is now pretty much at bear market lows. This is not huge accumulation opportunity. To me, this is weakness. Could it pump again? Sure. But will I really risk not riding strong coins just because I think this will give a bigger return in the end? Even if it does, you have missed a lot of compounding in between, and you don't know if it will do that again. But all I see with, in this case, Doge, after breaking this structure, it's bullish. It left the accumulation behind and we are slowly climbing. And once this is broken, you know what comes next. And when this breaks, Suddenly Doge was just a great opportunity that everyone missed, which here was just a dead coin, something on the past, new narratives, right? Every cycle has its new coins, you have to adapt, right? It's very easy to create a narrative. I have already said this many times. It's very, very easy. We're gonna see like memes are back, this was the super cycle, they were just early outperformers, whatever they want to say to justify price, and people will want to believe that if they are invested in that. But this is just all charts, and I see this in the charts constantly. Let me just open, I haven't seen this, okay? Let me just open the weekly, the 50, which I said was important for BTC, perhaps again also for altcoins. How about this? Bear market accumulation, as we have said, slow reclaim, still within the accumulation range we have discussed. This is a great buying opportunity. We have reclaimed. This is a weekly. Again, if you're thinking cycle-wise and you believe this could really do well, this is the time. Price is pretty much still bracketed, but this is the first reclaim after losing it here in 2021. Think about that. Here, a fake below, but again, higher low. This week's absorbing the selling pressure. Pop again, below, but reclaim now. Higher highs, higher lows. Even without the 50, I was seeing a bullish structure. I just said that. But it is above the 50. Can we say the same about other coins? I don't know. I'm just using previous cycle coins. Yeah, pretty much the same. Cardano stayed below quite longer. That's why no one has talked about this until they mentioned that the treasury, something like that, for the US government. But what I see is a potential bottom formation after this. But what is RSI doing? November, right? They announced it here. And there was the speculation here that it was the American coins that were with XRP and all that stuff that were going to be pushed by the US government. And we can see this slow and reclaim and this retest and hold of EMA. Explosive. I said many times, we don't know how high this can go or how high RSI can go as well. But this looks good. And now silently has reclaimed the EMA, the weekly as well. The 200 looks good. The 4-hour looks good. I wouldn't be surprised if this starts outperforming. And do you know what will happen when it clears this, closes above this, right? I'm gonna remove this. I don't really like this line. When it breaks this, which was resistance and resistance here, support here, what do you think comes next? Of course, all-time high. And with all-time high, euphoria. Whatever. This is vaporware again, but if you trade charts, perhaps there are other stronger charts. Or your strategy is just buying potential sleeping coins. But again, you can see how important it is. But I'm not focusing on high time frame because there is so much chop in between that you can lose so much money if you try to play this. You buy this because it's going high, and then you see a pullback 50-something%. What have I done? Now you suddenly start thinking that, what have I done buying Cardano, which is garbage, vaporware? You start mixing fundamentals with narratives, with charts, because you bought out of greed and you sell out of fear. So that's why you don't have any technicals to go back to and say, okay, it was a good move. If you buy here, of course, way above the 50 after the explosion in a very overheated area, of course you are exposing yourself to getting liquid. You can't buy here and say you are buying for the long term. You buy here, or even in the reclaim for the long term. But you don't buy such a breaker for the long term. It's just for the short term. You want to ride it for a few days, a week, or whatever. And you switch to the daily and to the 4-hour. Do you want to buy for the next push? Perhaps you buy here. It's not a bad area. Around 60, 70, yeah. I think that's why you have to apply a strategy. Otherwise, your mind is gonna, and all the noise on Twitter is gonna really, really mess up with you. Okay, I said this was going to be a short video, and again, I start rambling. Another 40-minute video probably. So that's it. I hope you understand why I use this approach, and you can see how data backs it up and says that it's not a bad move, right? So hopefully this weekend we will break new all-time high again when stocks reopen tomorrow, and see what BTC dominance decides to do finally. Until then, take care.